Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. In a few minutes I will be joining Rob Cloutier out at the Bass Hole Tackle Shop. Rob and I have just completed a couple of videos. The video that you'll be watching today, Rob talks about essential rod and reel combinations for those who are coming out fishing the California Delta. The second video we did was on wintertime baits, and I will drop that video in a couple of days. Now, as I was editing these two videos, I realized that there was a lot of information, and for those of you who may be new to the game or maybe intermediate anglers, you may not be able to absorb all that. So for the local Delta Rats, please jot down this date, January 3rd, Saturday, January 3rd. Rob will be having a sale out at the Bass Hole Tackle Shop. I will be out at the shop all day. Rob is going to get a few other special guests out, and we will be out there to answer questions, meet you guys, talk to you about fishing, rods, reels, baits, how to set everything up, whatever you want to talk about, whatever questions you may have. Come on out on January 3rd. I'm going to look at this for me as a meet and greet. I am always excited to meet the folks that have been supporting In Deep on the Delta, and I'm really looking forward to being out there and talking with you guys. So with that, let's take a look at this this first video, and remember, anything that Rob and I talk about in these videos will be on sale January 3rd. Oh, by the way, I'll probably have some merchandise out there, some hats and shirts if you guys are interested. So with that, let's take a look at this first video, and we'll talk about rods and reel combinations that you're going to want to have for next year if you're coming out to fish the California Delta. Let's check it out. Everyone, thanks for joining me. Once again, I'm out on beautiful Bethel Island here on the Delta. I'm at the Bass Hole Tackle Shop with Rob, and Rob has agreed to talk about, I'm going to say, Delta-specific rods. The rods that you're talking about are the rods that you are fishing.
Yep. All right, we're going to get into it here. We're going to start off with one of my favorite punching rods that just came out here. That's the iRod, the Corcus. This is a 710 4-power punch. This is Bobby's perfect new punch rod. Awesome rod. I was punching the Air Rod before this. That's another series by iRod. I switched over to the Corcus right here. This rod's got a excellent sensitive tip right here. I like a real soft tip when I'm punching. Again, the 710-4, Bobby's perfect punch rod. 1 ounce, ounce and a quarter, ounce and a half, up to 2 ounce weights on this guy here, and we're just flipping and punching everything we come across right here. I typically pair this guy up right here with a 200 series 831 reel. I want a fast reel when I'm just getting that bait in and out. Whenever the rod is doing the work, I want a high gear ratio, so I'm just getting that bait in and out faster. When the reel's doing the work, I want to slow it down. I want a slower gear ratio and allow the reel to move the bait versus the rod. Again, that 710 4-power, that's the new Bobby's perfect punch rod. This guy, I have about 4 of these, and they're on my rod or on my deck all day usually, and I have a 1 ounce, ounce and a quarter, ounce and a half, up to 2 ounce. And every time I come across what I need to do, I just grab this rod and go to town.
65-pound straight braid for you?
Always 65, right?
Okay.
We'll talk about the next rod here in line. We have that new Bobby's Perfect Frog rod that just came out a couple years back. This is a 794. I like this rod for open water frogging, whopper ploppers, and buzz baits. When it comes to fishing the cheese and bigger mats with a frog, I do not throw this rod.
Is it too soft?
I feel like that tip's too soft right there. For the Delta specific, it's an excellent rod for open water frogging, toolie frogging, stuff like that, the duckweed. But when we get in those big cheese mats and stuff, like this year I was fishing the UFC and the Snag Proof, and we were fishing the big cheese mats, and we were throwing that big copper red, that 1 ounce frog that he has right there. And it just overpowered this rod when we get him back in that cheese 30, 40 yards way back there. And it was a struggle. Before this rod came out, I was a 754 in the Genesis series, which I still have.
And these are all iRod.
These are all iRod,
just
yes.
a different,
yes.
The Genesis and the, what do you have here? The
Corcus.
Just a different rod or different series of rods.
Different series, same
all
manufacturer.
All made by iRod.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So the 754, excellent rod. It's a lot stiffer. It allows me to pull those fish out. It's a 7'5", 4-power. Real quick, if a lot of guys don't know the numbers, we talk about the 754, the 804, the 702S and stuff like that. Those first numbers, and a lot of guys don't know this here, this is a 754 F-H, right? So that first two numbers means it's a 7 foot 5 inch rod. The next number is what it is based on a scale of 1 through 6, 1 being a noodle, 6 being a straight broomstick as far as stiffness and limpness on that right there. So this is a 4-power heavy, so this is almost 2 points away from being a mag heavy is what they would call that. So again, a 754, awesome frog rod, buzzbait rod, whopper plopper rod, A-rig rod. You could do a lot with this. This is the Magic Stick by iRod Genesis 3. So there's no right way or wrong way when it comes down to breaking the actual technique specifics of a rod. If you like the way that it feels and you like the way that it throws a bait and you're okay with it, hey, power to you. There's no right or wrong with it at all. Everybody knows I throw chatterbaits a lot here on the river. Clear Lake, Berryessa, Shasta. I love it. It's awesome bait. My rod changes from wherever I'm going there. On the Delta specific, I like the 723. This is the IRG, the Genesis, iRod Genesis. It's a 723, so again, we're 7'2", 3-power. This is a stone cold swim and vibrating jig. I don't throw a lot of swim jigs. I just throw a lot of chatterbaits. But this rod right here, again, we're going back to that multitasking rod right here. I throw spinnerbaits on this guy. When I'm up at Shasta, I drag 1 ounce and 3/4 football heads with a double tail hula grub with this rod because it's a lot stiffer.
So a lot of hook setting power, pulling them out of tules in the Delta or big fish out of Clear Lake.
Yeah, I do not throw a chatterbait at Clear Lake on this rod right here. It has let me down multiple times in the one bass because it is too stiff and those fish like to dance and they will shake that bait. So when I go to Clear Lake, I switch over to the Corcus and I throw that 733V. This is a rod that was made for chatterbaits. It's a little bit softer on the tip right there. And I do this with braid. I do this one with 30-pound braid. That other one, I'm 17-pound fluorocarbon.
And that's real important what you're talking about because you're fishing the same lure on a different rod.
Right.
And if you're not picking up on this, a lot of times you can hook that fish with this rod, the iRod, but you can't land them because these fish are dancing around and they're popping off. That's when you switch to this rod that has a little less or a little bit more moderate bend.
A little bit more tip on it, yeah. So the biggest thing is when I was fishing this tournament, I was hooking these giants, these 7, 8, 9 pounders, and I was losing them left and right. And I couldn't figure out why, right? The co-angler I had on the boat, he goes, hey, your rod's too stiff. I throw another rod, it's a 763, it's a crankbait rod, and I have about 4 of those for square bills up to 6XDs, and I switched over to my chatterbait on that. Never lost a fish the rest of the day on that thing, right?
And
Just
you're
'cause it
throwing
has a
straight
softer-
braid.
I'm throwing straight 30-pound braid on that, on this rod now, and that rod when I was throwing it. So the difference is that softer tip when those fish come up and dance and they shake their head like this, that rod takes the fluctuation of that shaking and keeps that hook pinned right in the top of their mouth, where that stiffer rod comes up, loads, and then snaps back fast, and now that fish has give, and he'll shake that bait, right? And you'll lose that guy, right? So and we've all seen it. When you hook at that big fish, you're just cranking, and you don't know, you're just going with it. The rod tip will help you out a lot when you're fighting these big fish, so that it has fluctuation. So we also want to make sure that you're checking out how that rod flexes and how it does everything with what you're trying to pair it up with.
You spool everything up on the Delta with fluorocarbon or mono?
I'm either all fluorocarbon or I'm all braid. The only one where I'll do a 20-pound, I'll do a 20-pound braid to a 15-pound fluorocarbon leader is my drop shot.
Okay.
That's the only one I'm going to do.
And that's on a spinning rod.
That's on a spinning rod right there.
What do we got next, Rob?
All right. Well, we'll go back into those spinning rods there. That drop shot rod that I throw right there, this is a 7'7", 2-power. I like the longer rod just because the way I fish my drop shot. I throw a 4/0 straight shank. It's a Owner 141 is what they call it. It's a straight shank hook. I throw a 5/16 tungsten. I'm typically either throwing a robo worm or a trick worm as my drop shot worm. I don't really go anywhere else with it, but this will be a dedicated rod to it. When I go to Shasta, stuff like that, I will change it up a little bit and use this rod for some other things, but typically this is my drop shot rod. You could do a lot with this rod, with it being a 7'7", float and fly, little tiny jigs, small ball head swim baits, stuff like that. It's an awesome multi-purpose rod, but I really like it for drop shotting. I don't throw my Senkos on this rod. I throw the 713. It's a little bit stiffer. Again, this is a 7
Same
foot,
rod.
Same rod. This is that rod right here. So this is a 713. So this is 7'1", 3 power. So it's in that medium heavy. And then this is a 2 power. So it's in that medium. So a lot softer tip right there, which I like for drop shotting. Now that 713, again, we go back to that open hook. I like an open hook. I like a stiffer rod just because it allows you to bury that open hook on there. Trebles, stuff like that. I'm not open hook. I'm talking like a top hook, Huddleston, drop shot when it's sticking out the top. Nail weight, frenzy nail weight head. How I rig it. I like that stiffer one. Same thing with the Senko, and I'm open hook. No weed guard. 3/0 on the 6-inch. 2/0 on a 5-inch, and I typically only throw 6-inch Senkos. And this rod, I will pair this up with 30-pound braid.
How about you use the same spinning reel, 2500? Do you go to
Yeah,
3000?
it depends. I have quite a few 3000s, and I have quite a few 2500s. I like the 2500. Again, they hold so much line when you put braid on there. You can cast a football field. That's 100 yards. Some are even 120 yards. That's far. You know, in reality, if you're like me, when it gets to be about halfway, I have a hard time casting it, so I always want to reloading it up with more line in case I have tangles and snaps off.
But the balance of it, either one of these rods can be balanced with the 300 or 25 or 3000 or 20. And you spool those up with the same line?
Same. So now back to that Power Pro, 30-pound braid on my Senko. No, just straight 30-pound braid to my Senko, open 3/0 hook, wacky rig. That's how I throw it. On my drop shot, we're 20-pound braid. Again, back to that Power Pro. And then we're Seagar, Blue Label, fluorocarbon leader.
Okay. Let's get into some of the more multi-purpose bait casting rods. And I think this is the meat and potatoes. Really try to focus in for the guys that can only maybe afford to have one or two rods, and let them know this rod here can cover your crankbaits, it can cover your T-rigs, it can cover, you know, multi-purpose type stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll talk about, again, that 723 multi-purpose chatterbaits, spinner baits, football heads, jigs, everything like that. That 733, this is an excellent multi-purpose rod again.
And how, this is a 7'2"?
7'3", 3 power.
Okay, 7'3" power.
So again, this guy, crankbaits, spinner baits, chatterbaits, poppers. I like this one for poppers as well too. So a little bit of topwater, the smaller whopper ploppers. You get around with anything. Soft plastics with it. Things we don't talk about like brush hogs, flipping little brush hogs around, frenzy nail weights. All these rods will do a lot of that stuff and the bigger stuff for you as well.
Okay, and this is one of those rods you say, man, you need to have this on your boat, because if you've only got 4 rods, you can do a lot of things with this.
Yep, absolutely.
When we talk about this this sale coming up, do you think you could put together maybe 1 or 2 rod combinations? Like you really like this rod here with the 200 Luz and Power Pro 40, maybe put a couple of those on. That could be part of the sale, and say, you know, this is one of the rods you want. You can't go wrong with it, type thing.
Yeah, you know, I'll do this. I'll bring a couple of mine down here and have them sitting down here so we can get familiar with them, flipping them and understanding them and seeing them and how I fish them and how I pair them up with braid and line and reel.
Right. That's the important, and I specifically asked Rob, we're talking about the rods that he has in his shop now, they're new rods, but Rob uses all of these rods. I've been on the boat with Rob. You love the iRods, and you think they're not only a good rod, but they're at an affordable price. Yeah,
the Genesis 3, Matt has a couple different variations. They run from, I believe it's 109 is the cheaper model, up to 289, which is the Air, the high-end model. And then he has some other ones, some intercoastal ones mixed in there. But great price point, great starting. Matt's an awesome dude. When you call iRod, Matt usually answers. His customer service is great. I've been on the pro staff with these guys for about 10 years now. All the guys that are on the pro staff, excellent guys, all knowledgeable, friendly. And again, Matt, the owner of iRod, excellent dude. Always there to fight for you if you need anything. He takes pride in his work and his rods, and he is outstanding. So I like it.
What else you got for us, Rob?
Let's start getting into some bigger baits here now. This is a 764. This is Caesar from Toxic Baits, the Sniper Swim right here.
So you're talking swim baits.
I'm talking swim baits, another excellent multi-purpose rod right here. And the reason why I like this rod so much is when Caesar designed this, he made this that longer handle right there. Mm-hmm. You'll notice on a lot of rods in comparison to this one right here, okay, as far as how the rod butt sits and then how far that long handle is, we've got about 2 inches, 3 inches more here, which is excellent for a guy like myself and you, a little bit taller, where I like to tuck that underneath my arm right there when I'm hucking these bigger baits. A-rigs, Huddlestons, Caesar's baits, wake baits, glide baits. This is the rod to do it right here. This rod was specifically made for Caesar's baits here. That's what he designed it and made it to go with. I like it for a lot more stuff. I love this rod right here for throwing A-rigs up at Clear Lake. It's just awesome. It doesn't get me fatigued all day because I can keep it in here and I'm just hucking them and winding and going. I like it for the big weight baits, the weight baits, all that stuff. It's an awesome rod. So again, that's 7'6", 4 power. So it is a heavier tip. In reality, you could throw whopper ploppers, the bigger ones with this thing, the Berkeley, the new chops that just came out, all the glide baits, everything. Awesome rod to have out here, especially on the Delta. Bigger rattle traps for striper, everything. This rod will take it. Yeah, and you know, the other thing, the advantage that I see with these rods too is as I get older, I'm not chucking these bigger baits with one arm. When you have to put a hand down here, that extra length on it gives you that pendulum where you can throw it, especially a little longer rod, you can get so much more distance. I got to have this thing in here and have something in here to it's nice, yeah, right? It's nice to have that longer handle.
I'm losing power. I don't want to get you into my personal life or anything, but a little, that 4, 5, 6 inches longer, and this thing is light too,
yeah.
Man. I'm noticing. It really is a much more comfortable rod to fish bigger baits with. You might be able to fish this rod for a half a day, or you may be able to fish it all day and not go home and not be able to fish the next day. So it is really important to have that 6 inches extra there. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. The same thing with hucking those big A-rigs. It's an awesome rod that does it, and the bigger baits too. That Huddleston, the 8-inch, the bigger Huddlestons, the bigger mat lures. And what was the power you said on this? This is a 4 power. Again, so it's got that softer tip on there, but it is that 4 power. So again, we're talking on a scale of 1 through 6, 1 being a noodle, 6 being a broomstick or a 2x4. So we're right in the middle right there. And then the tips do change on the action of them. You'll go from moderate to this and that. But this rod, how Matt and Caesar designed it, excellent rod, multi-purpose stuff. Again, you can do everything with this guy. What's the next rod we're talking about, Rob? We're going to jump in there. So that 764 we talked about throwing A-rigs on it. There is another rod here, the 710 4 power. This is another Alabama rig rod that I like to throw right here. I also really enjoy throwing Huddlestons on this rod right here. Huddlestons, bigger top hook swim baits, the new chop block by Berkeley, El Chapo, or not El Chapo, the chop block over there. Bigger glide baits. I like this one. A little bit stiffer than that 764. We talked about that tip coming in. We're only in the first 5 or 6 eyes right there, and we're starting to see that bend disappear on that. So it will take a bigger bait. I like this rod here. Again, A-rigs. Big top hook swim baits, bigger glide baits again, another big bait rod. I think we covered light spinning gear, and when we call light spinning gear on the Delta, it's probably medium to heavy gear on a lake. We've covered your punch rod, your frog rod, swim baits, some multi-purpose rods. Anything? Is there anything we missed here? I mean, the only thing we're really missing right here, a jerkbait rod, crankbait rod. And that 6, a lot of guys, me personally, I throw a 693, 6'9", 3 power for my jerk baits. I also like that rod for my cotton cordels, my spots, which is a lipless crankbait. 6'9". 6'9". I just like a littler one. It's a little bit softer rod. A 702, 7'2" power. I also like that for jerk baits.
smaller square bills, stuff like that, the 1.5s.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I've been throwing a lot of jerk baits, and there are days when I come home and my wrist and elbow are just shot. So that softer rod is going to take a lot of the shock out of your wrist and elbow, correct?
Yeah. Also, with that shorter rod, you're not going so. You get that 7'3". To move that tip from here to there, you're having to go a lot more. On a 6'9", 6'8" rod. That little subtle movement moves that tip a lot more.
Right.
And it's you won't be as fatigued by the end of the day, especially these cold winter months.
Now on the Delta with that shorter rod, are you underhand pitching that bait a lot, or
no?
Are you
I'm still bombing it.
Okay.
Still over the top bombing it. You know.
Yeah, and again, that's another thing. We're going to have to just do a specific video on jerk baits, and not only just the jerk bait, but each jerk bait that you throw. For me, I do a lot of jerk bait fishing, so I have several jerk bait rods, and you hit it on the head when you're doing this compared to just doing. You can overpower a jerk bait, you can underpower a jerk bait. There's a lot to go on, and you can say, hey, this is my jerk bait rod. And for the beginner, you need one to get started with. But if you've been fishing for a long time, you may want to have 5, 6, 7 jerkbait rods. And now we're coming out with all these baits from Japan that are, I'll call them twitch baits or jerk baits. Those things are working really well out here. But if you try to throw them on the wrong rod, you're going to overpower it, and you're going to say, this is a piece of crap. They're selling me a bait that's a $25 bait, and it looks like hell, when in fact you're probably just using the wrong rod with the wrong technique. But we'll get into that also. So Rob, I want to thank you for going over all of these rods, and you're going to give me a list of the numbers and what you fish them for. I'll put those in the remarks, so if you watched and you saw 1 or 2 rods that you were interested in, you can look those up and say, okay, I need a jerkbait rod, or I need a punching rod, or whatever. Write that down. Come on in, talk to Rob, and he'll get you set up with the rod reel combination with the right line and leader setup. So, with that, Rob, let's call this a take, and we'll get into fishing maybe, or another video, and we'll do something on winter baits. Thank you guys for watching, and go out there. I know it's tough right now, but you can still get bit, you can catch a few fish, and you got the river all to yourself.
Yep, no wakeboarders, no pleasure boaters, no skiers, just a lot of hyacinth and floating debris, so be careful out there.
Okay, we'll see you guys. Thanks for watching. Good luck.